Hey, it's Aurelius. In this video, I'm going to show you step-by-step how to use Canva video to edit your videos. So whether you post on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, or what have you, this video will show you how to get started so that you'll get a polished video at the end of this tutorial. Okay, first things first, and the most obvious step is to make sure you have a Canva account. The great thing is Canva video does not require a pro account. However, you will see indications with the crown icon where there are pro elements involved or pro features, but that'll all be indicated anyway. As a little side note, the reason why you may want to consider using Canva video to edit your videos instead of other tools is because it integrates a lot of the Canva features that you are probably familiar with already. Things like adding and dragging elements, text, and just the intuitiveness and the ease of use with Canva in general. So therefore, you don't need to start from scratch and acquire certain skills so that you can start editing videos in Canva. All right, once you've signed up for Canva, head to your Canva account. Now, you can start with some templates. That's where it may be easy, and you can see landscape video and a few other options. But if we simply go and dive deep into video in general, you'll see a few options. You can also click on create, then on the search bar you can search for video, and then this will give you a few options whether you want to create a landscape version. So if you're posting on YouTube, for instance, then you may want to use the landscape video, and you've also got a square version. And TikTok or Instagram, which is pretty much the same dimensions, you've got landscape versus portrait. So before you select any of the options, think about where you'll be posting your video and what format. Let's take YouTube, for example, and we'll use this moving forward. We'll simply select landscape video. You'll be presented with the editor, and you can see the main canvas right here with the timeline right here. It will take you to some templates that you can see here, and you can very well start with some of these to help you with your content. And then on the left, you'll see some other options that you may be familiar with already with Canva. Now, before you add any media, any assets, you need to think about the video that you recorded or will be recording. So this is where resizing it matters. Because we chose a landscape video, this by default is a 1920 by 1080 pixel dimension video. If you record it in 4K, for instance, on your camera, and you want to utilize that 4K quality, then you want to make sure that you click on resize, and we're going to select custom size, and this will give you access to add the dimensions based on your video. So a 4K video is 3840 by 2160, okay, pixels. And then we can resize this design rather than copy and resize so that we still are on the same page. You may not see a difference, but in actual fact, this is we're working on a 4K canvas. You can verify this by clicking on share, and then if you go to download, we'll see MP4, and we can see 4K. Bear in mind, this is a Canva Pro feature, and you can see this indicated when you are downloading. There's a little crown icon there. So if you just have a free Canva account, that's fine. You can just work with the 1920 by 1080p format. But I'll be adding some 4K footage, so let's work with 4K in this video. The first step is to add our media, and this includes the videos on your camera, perhaps, and some images that you may want to use, perhaps some B-roll footage from stock footage sites. However, Canva does have some stock footage that you can go to, and we are going to play around with that anyway. So if we go to videos, you've got videos, and then if you go photos, there are some photos as well that we can also look up and use in our video. But we can simply go to uploads, and then this is where you can start uploading all of your media, whether those are videos, audios, and or both, and images as well. I've got all of my footage that I want to work with, so I'm going to highlight all of this and then simply drag and drop it to the uploads area. So we've got a mix of different videos and clips here, kind of random, but we'll just use these because I've already edited them. I've cut them out from longer videos, but I want to show you how they all come together at the end of the video. All right, so the first thing is to determine which footage to put first. I'm just going to put this one here. Rest assured, you can always drag and drop and rearrange, reposition different footage that you have. I'll click play on this little clip here so you can see, yes, this is playing in Canva. Let's add another one. Let's say this one here, and let's get a close-up of this. We've got this one here, which I shot in advance. And let's take this one where I'm looking at my YouTube plug and also a little close up there. Okay, and I've got an extra clip here, which I'll demonstrate later on, showing you how to add captions to your video. But let's work with what we've got here. Let's play a little bit of this. There's no sound with these clips, so, maybe add some music, some sound effects later on. Now that we've got our footage added, what I want to do is just collapse this so that we have a bigger and larger space to work with. To be presented with some options for each individual clip you've added, simply click on that footage that you want to edit. Then you'll see a new toolbar right here that pops up. We can start editing it. This gives us options to do things like adding filters to that individual clip. We've got apps that we can use and utilize. We can change the speed of that particular clip. And then we've got transitions as well. Got some fun things like a background remover. So if you do want to get rid of that background, put something else, that gives you that ability. While we're here, one of the basic things that you may want to do with your video is to adjust the exposure, the brightness. You can see here the temperature, maybe warmer, maybe cooler, depending on your video. You can add some shadow or decrease the shadows, highlights, things like that. Or you can let Canva just auto adjust the entire video there. And then you can see that it's added some brightness, contrast, highlights, shadows, minus the whites since it was quite bright. But I want to leave it as is. I'll just undo it using Command Z on the Mac. But let's go back at the toolbar, taking a look. We've got splitting the clip. So once your scrubber, this is a scrubber, is at a point where you think, yes, this is where I want to split it so that I'll be working with two clips instead of the one large clip. You can do so using split. On the timeline, we can see that there's quite a lot of space and we want to zoom in perhaps and really dial in on the cuts that we are making, the edits that we're making. So you can use your trackpad or mouse to kind of zoom in on it. You can see now that 4-second or so clip has been expanded, and now we can really narrow in on that particular frame that we want to cut. Let's say as soon as I touch the trackpad right there, then I can split it. Same goes for the main canvas. We can zoom in or out depending how big you want it. So you can click that, and then this is where I want to split it. So we can go split. Now we are working with two different clips, and another great way to cut a particular footage is to use the draggers right here. Okay, so there's less of that, and then we can also cut this ending as well. And this can really make sense, especially if you have recorded a video, it's raw footage, and you've made quite a lot of mistakes and cuts. The process with editing videos usually starts with editing that raw video so that you have clean footage to work with, and then you can add all of the effects later on. So that would be kind of like the step 2 of editing your video. Some other options on the toolbar include, which we've run through, like a background remover. We've got the volume for that particular clip, and we've got captions, which I'll show how you can add later on. The speed, so again, you can change the speed right there. The background color, white, but we are not working with backgrounds because we have that footage right there. There's also a feature to crop the video. We can flip it, we can add some transparency and animate it, and we can see some of the effects and animations that it provides. So depending how fancy you really want to get. We've got position, and this has to do with the layering. So let's say, for instance, I'll go to photos and I'll add maybe this little thing. And then now we've got the photo right there, but let's say position. And then we can drag that particular image on top of that clip. So let's go back here, and then I'll just resize it. And then you can see I can add it anywhere I'd like. And I've also cropped it so that I can actually see most of the image, and then I'll just resize it so we can put it somewhere there. So you can see now in layers, it is above this video. However, this video is treated as a background, so we can't remove that. The other way to do it is to click on more options and detach video from background, treating it as another layer. So now we can drag this particular photo behind that, and then we can play around with this, drag that there, and adds all sorts of elements, as you can see. But let's revert back. Now, let's add some text to make this a little more engaging and to show people what this video is about. Now, we want to go to text, and then I just want to add a heading. or you can just press the T button if you wanted to, or choose one of the other options here. You can see there are some ready-made text elements, but let's keep it simple. I'll just add a heading, quite small. That's because we work on a 4K canvas, but let's do something like 120 and say a day in the life, or sorry, in day in my life, and let's make it a little bit bigger. We can just adjust it like so. Okay, put it somewhere in the middle, and you can very well just drag, and you can see some of the guides that automatically show when you are dragging, so you know exactly where the center is. So in the timeline, because now Canva offers the ability to use multi-tracks and multi-layers, you can see where it will start, so it makes it easy to work with. The older version did not have this sort of multi-layer track, right? And we can now increase the height of our timeline so that it gives us more space to work with. Because let's say you've got audio as well, your speech, you've got music, you've got different layers of text coming into play. That's why it's important to kind of work with this timeline in this fashion. So when I play it, you can see that it doesn't appear until this point right here. And then if I want to go further, I will take that and then go to animate, okay? And then I can maybe do something like a fade or coming from a blur or breathe. You can see the different effects that it offers. Rise, and let's use rise. Okay, that's the effect right there. We can then choose the option to change the speed of it and the direction, whether you want it coming from the bottom to top or top to bottom. But let's slow down the speed right here. So it's a little slower and more dramatic like that. Okay, so now it looks like this, a day in my life. And then we can kind of end it somewhere there. Okay, and it's gone, and then next clip comes, and then next clip comes as well. In between each of the clips, what you can also do, if you take a look right here, you'll see add transition. So in between each of the clips, you can add like a special effect, such as dissolve. And if we go back and play it, it dissolves onto the next footage. So that's the transition right there. You can do that for each of the clips if you want to get a bit more fancy. Here are some other effects. So we've got a slide. Let's see what this does. That's that. I kind of like the previous one, so I'll revert. And now we've got the dissolve. At this point, what we can do is add more text. Let's say we would want to use this template here. We can also do that. Empower your team, which doesn't quite make sense. We can say morning, I research. Okay, and we can also change the color. As you know, Canva makes it really easy to change certain elements, and I'll just use white in this instance. My morning, I research. Okay, so now let's go back. We got morning, I research, but let's go and animate that to a simple fade. Like that, and let's slow it down, go back, morning, I research, and it can continue on. I'll just end it there, and then maybe I'll show you another demonstration. So we've also got some of these other ones. This one here, and I've put, for this one, reflecting on successes. All right, doesn't quite make sense, but I'm just showing you like this is the process to kind of editing and adding certain elements if you wish to do so. Because this is grouped, I want to ungroup it, so I right click, ungroup, and now I can kind of treat this as its separate element and reposition it the way I want. Now when we play it, this is what it shows, reflecting on successes, moves on to the next one. Of course, you want to keep things consistent with the text and perhaps the color scheme and the branding. Next up, let's add a completely different clip. Let's go to videos and see what's in their stock library. So we can search up something like skyscraper, right? Skyscraper, and then see what we've got here. We've got a 10-second one. Let's add that to the end. So you can mix and match whatever you please. And let's say you want to add this as only a B-roll. So B-roll is another footage that is placed on top of your primary footage. So we've got A-roll, which is your main clip. Let's say you're talking, but you also are talking about something like business can scale, and then you have footage to demonstrate and illustrate that, such as this clip here. So we can put that. So now we've got that B-roll showing. And that's the fun thing about, I guess, video editing. You can play around with it. And if I go here, I can split the clip and then delete the rest, or just use the draggers right here. Next up, Canva has this feature that I want to highlight, and it's actually called highlights. What it does is, let's say you've got a long clip, but you just want to get bits of it for social media, short form content, or what have you. Let's say this clip right here. Actually, let's work with this one. And once you click on that particular clip you're working with, we can go to the trim option, and then we can look at the clip right here, but there's also an option called highlights, okay? And you can see it's a Canva Pro feature, but what this will allow you to do, it uses AI to detect some of the main highlights of that video so that you only get the best bits. We've got one saying picking up the award, and then now we've got admiring the plaque. Really depends on what you're trying to entail and what you're trying to tell in your story of the video. Let's say we just want admiring the plaque instead of having that 5-second clip in whole. We can click on admiring the plaque and then add selection to design. That'll automatically trim it so that you only have that best highlight. Now, if we go back, play it, we've got me admiring the plaque. Next up, I want to add one of my screen tutorials, okay? So I recorded this in advance, and it's just a random clip that I selected just to demonstrate what you can do next. So let's say you want to add captions to your video. We can easily do this by selecting it, clicking on captions. This will bring up the captions app, and then there are quite a few styles to choose from. We got the different colors, one word at a time, so really fast paced, or we've got one that has like a highlight on each of the words, but longer sentences. We've got this one here. So quite a few styles depending on what you like and the aesthetics you're going for. But let's choose momentum, and then we can actually choose the colors that we want, but let's stick to whatever we have got by default. Okay, so we've got this. I'm going to now, and then down below you see apply captions to. You can apply to your entire video if that makes sense, or if it's just for one little clip, you can do so. But let's go and disable it for everything else since none of these have voice. And then I want to select the demo video that I've got right here in particular, and then generate the captions. Give it a moment, and now we've got the captions as a new track on the timeline. Okay, so we've got this play, right, and you can go to voice clone, create clone. So there will be an option to create your custom voice, and this can make a lot of sense, especially if you're posting short form content on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and any other platforms. Another feature in Canva is AI voice. So I tested these, but this one right here does not sound realistic. But if you use this one here, which is a Canva Pro one, it sounds a little more natural. So if I play it, you can hear a sample.
Do you know emus and kangaroos cannot walk backward?
And that's the example. So what you do is you simply type what you want the AI voiceover to say, and then you can use that clip in your video. And that's just another way to narrate if you don't want to use your own voice. And don't forget some of the other basic things that you can do in Canva. We can add all sorts of little elements, right? So this right here, a circle. So we can add like a circle here, any colors, and it adds it as a new layer. Going back, we've got other kind of fun things right here, this right here. So making it more perhaps engaging. If you want to add some AI generated media, just use Magic Media, describe what you want in a few words, and then that'll generate the image. There's also the ability to also generate videos so that if you can't find any relevant stock footage, you can always generate it using Magic Media's videos. Going back to the sidebar, if you don't see it anywhere on the sidebar, you can always add things. So going to apps, and we can just select audio. And now in audio, we can record a voiceover. We can generate AI voice once again. We can add music to the background. Let's say this one here. And now it's added it as a track. And with music, you are given some more options here. We can change, of course, the volume. You don't want it 100% when you're trying to talk, for instance, and we can reduce it down to something like 10%, which is more subtle. We can also use a cool feature called beat sync, where the video automatically is timed to the music. This probably makes more sense for short form content that you're wanting to create, since it needs to be engaging, and it may be an ad too that you want to post. Now, in addition to music, you can also filter it by just effects. So if you want a crowd sound effect, you can also use any of those that you find. So have a play around with all of the elements, add anything you would like, text, certain elements, graphical elements, stock footage, stock videos, AI generated voiceovers, what have you. Polish it up, and then the next step really is to export your video. In order to export your video, simply click on share, then we click on download. From here, you are given the option to choose the file format. Of course, we simply want an MP4 video so that we can start posting it and publish it on that relevant social media platform. Choose a quality. Of course, depending on the plan that you have with Canva, that will determine what you can save it in. But because we worked in a 4K canvas, we have 4K enabled, plus I've got a Canva Pro account, so I'm eligible for that. And then I'll just click on download. This will process the video, prepare it for download. And that right there is how you can use Canva video quickly and easily, whether you're a beginner or someone who is looking for an alternate video editor on the market. Thanks so much for watching. Happy editing, and I'll see you in the next video.